Welcome to the Sleepless Historian. If you find this journey soothing, please consider liking and subscribing. And don't forget to turn on loop, so this calm exploration flows gently on repeat. Imagine a softly lit room, with dim lights casting a warm glow. You may wish to adjust your pillow, perhaps pull your blanket a little closer. Let your breathing slow, in and out, deep and calm. Today, we will delve into the exceedingly uninspiring history of medieval jester costume regulation. In this exploration, we will uncover the intricate, yet often dull details surrounding the attire of jesters, those curious figures of the past. We will observe their costumes, the rules that govern them, and the subtle art of fitting in or standing out. In the medieval period, jesters were not merely entertainers. They played a significant role in court life. Their costumes were subject to a variety of regulations, established by monarchs and local authorities. These regulations dictated colors, patterns, and even the materials used for their garments. The jester's attire was often a reflection of their social status and their place within the court's hierarchy. As we meander through this historical narrative, we will discover the measurements and routines that shaped the jester's appearance. The bright colors, the jingling bells, and the distinct shapes were not random choices. They adhered to specific guidelines, creating a unique visual language that communicated the jester's role in society. Slowly and gently, we will explore how these rules impacted the jesters themselves. Did they feel the weight of these regulations, or did they embrace them as part of their identity? We will uncover these nuances as we proceed. So, settle in. Let your shoulders relax and allow your mind to drift into this peculiar world of medieval costume regulation. We will take our time, savoring the details, examining the textures of history, and exploring the mundane yet fascinating journey of fitting in through attire. Let's begin this gentle exploration together. As we delve deeper into the world of medieval jester costume regulation, let us focus on the tools and materials that were essential for creating these distinctive garments. The jester's attire was typically made from wool, silk, and linen. These fabrics were chosen not only for their availability, but also for their ability to hold bright dyes. The process of gathering materials began with local merchants who supplied the necessary textiles. Wool, often sourced from nearby sheep farms, was known for its warmth and durability. Silk, more rare and costly, was sometimes imported from distant lands. Linen, a common fabric, was made from flax and was favored for its breathability. Each jester would depend on a local tailor, who would measure and cut the fabrics according to specific guidelines. Measurements were crucial. A skilled tailor would start by measuring the jester's height, arm length, and waist circumference. These measurements ensured a proper fit. The jester's outfit needed to be comfortable, allowing freedom of movement for their performances. The jester's tunic would be approximately knee-length, with sleeves that extended to the wrists. The fabric would drape loosely over the body, creating an appearance of whimsy and playfulness. The colors of the fabrics were often dictated by local regulations. Bright hues, such as red, yellow, and green, were commonly used in jester attire. However, certain hues were reserved for specific roles within the court. For instance, a yellow fabric might be designated for jesters serving a particular noble. This color coding was an unspoken language, a visual cue for those who observed the jester's performance. Once the materials were gathered, the crafting process began. The tailor would lay out the fabric on a large cutting table, often made of sturdy wood. The tools used included sharp scissors, measuring tapes, and chalk for marking. Each piece of fabric was cut with precision, ensuring that no material was wasted. After cutting, the pieces would be stitched together using linen thread. This thread was chosen for its strength, allowing the garments to withstand the rigors of performance. The sewing process could take several days, depending on the complexity of the design. A jester's costume might include multiple layers, with an outer tunic adorned with patches of vibrant colors. Jingles and bells were a quintessential aspect of the jester's attire. These small metal ornaments were often sewn onto the edges of the costume. The sound they made added to the jester's playful persona, creating a delightful auditory experience for those in attendance. Each bell was carefully positioned to ensure it would not interfere with movement, yet still produce sound at the slightest motion. As the costume neared completion, additional embellishments were considered. Ruffs, collars, and hats were designed to complement the outfit. A traditional jester's hat often had 2 or 3 points, reminiscent of a fool's cap. Each point would have bells attached, creating a symphony of sound as the jester moved. The storage of these costumes was also a matter of care and etiquette. When not in use, the jester's attire was often hung on wooden racks, or neatly folded and stored in wooden chests. This careful preservation prevented the fabrics from becoming damaged or faded. The jester's attire was not merely clothing. It was a representation of their role in the court. The regulations surrounding jester costumes created a standard, a visual identity that helped to convey their purpose. Jesters were expected to entertain, to provoke thought, while also providing laughter. Their colorful costumes were a part of this performance, blending seamlessly with their playful antics. To understand the daily routines of a jester, we must consider their schedules. A typical day would begin early, as jesters prepared for their performances. They would rise at dawn, their costumes often still hanging in their chambers. After a light breakfast, they would don their attire, taking care to adjust each piece, ensuring a comfortable fit. The jester would often practice their routines in front of a mirror, refining their gestures and expressions. This crucial step ensured that every movement was deliberate, enhancing the overall performance. The jester would spend hours perfecting their craft, often rehearsing alongside other performers. At the meditate, Once the performances began, a jester would follow a schedule dictated by the court. They would entertain guests during meals, at festivals, and during special events. Their performances were meticulously timed, often lasting no more than 20 to 30 minutes. This duration allowed the audience to enjoy the spectacle without becoming fatigued. Throughout the day, the jester's attire would be subjected to wear and tear. The combination of movement, laughter, and the occasional spill from food or drink necessitated regular maintenance. After performances, jesters would inspect their costumes, mending any tears or replacing bells as needed. This routine of care and attention was essential for maintaining the jester's image. A well-kept costume reflected their dedication to their role. As we consider the impact of these regulations, we recognize that they were not merely limitations. They were guidelines that shaped the identity of the jester. The jester's interaction with their audience was often influenced by their attire. The bright colors and whimsical designs invited laughter and engagement. The jester was more than a performer. They were a bridge between the nobility and the common folk. Their costumes allowed them to navigate this social landscape, establishing a unique rapport with their audience. Slowly and gently, we are uncovering the intricate details that define the Jester's world. The rules surrounding their attire, the measurements, and the daily routines were all part of a larger tapestry. A tapestry woven with threads of color, sound, and purpose. Each Jester, through their costume, contributed to a collective identity, drawing from the regulations yet infusing their personal flair into their performances. Well, as we continue to explore this journey, let us appreciate the mundane details that shape the lives of these entertainers. The Jester's costume was a canvas, a reflection of the era's values and norms. Every stitch, every color choice, every bell added to the narrative of the Jester, a narrative that continues to echo through the ages. So allow yourself to relax, settle into your space, and let the gentle rhythm of this story wash over you as we delve deeper into the art of fitting in through attire, slowly and gently. As we continue our exploration of the Jester's colorful yet regulated attire, let us focus on the mundane specifics that surrounded the creation and maintenance of these costumes. Imagine the tools and materials that Jester tailors would have at their disposal. A sturdy wooden table, perhaps, where they would lay out their fabrics, their scissors, and their needles. These tools, simple yet essential, were the instruments of their trade, the implements that transformed plain cloth into vibrant costumes. The fabrics chosen for a Jester's attire were often bright and lively. Wool, linen, and silk were common materials, each with its own texture and weight. Wool was preferred for its warmth and durability, especially in colder regions, while linen offered breathability during the warmer months. Silk, often reserved for the more affluent Jesters, added a touch of elegance and shimmer, particularly appealing under the soft glow of candlelight during evening performances. The colors used in a Jester's costume were carefully selected. Bright reds, blues, yellows, and greens were favored, creating a visual feast that delighted the eye. Each color had its significance. For example, red might symbolize joy, while blue could represent loyalty. The choice of colors was not just a matter of personal preference. It was dictated by social norms and the expectations of the audience. Once the fabric was chosen, the next step was measurement. The Jester would stand tall, perhaps in front of a full-length mirror, as the tailor measured their height, waist, and chest. The measuring tape would glide effortlessly, marking the points to ensure a perfect fit. This process could take a good portion of the day, as precision was key. Every inch counted, ensuring that the Jester's movements were free and unencumbered. The tailoring process itself was meticulous. The tailor would cut the fabric according to the measurements, ensuring that each piece aligned perfectly, each cut sharp and true. The Jester's costume typically consisted of a tunic, trousers, and a distinctive hat adorned with bells. The tunic might reach down to the knees, while the trousers were often fitted at the waist and flared out toward the ankle, allowing for ease of movement. As the pieces were sewn together, the tailor would often employ a variety of stitches, each chosen for its strength and flexibility. A simple running stitch for seams, a more intricate backstitch for durability, and perhaps even decorative embroidery along the edges, adding personality to the costume. The process of sewing was rhythmic, with the soft sound of the needle piercing fabric and the gentle tug of thread creating a lullaby of its own. Once the sewing was complete, the costume would be adorned with additional elements. Ribbons might be braided into the fabric, cascading down in vibrant colors. Small, shiny bells would be sewn onto the hat and sleeves, creating a merry jingle as the Jester moved. These bells were not merely decorative. They served a practical purpose, alerting the audience to the Jester's presence, drawing them into the performance, inviting laughter and joy. The maintenance of these costumes was equally important. After each performance, the jester would carefully remove the costume, ensuring that it was not tossed aside, but treated with care. The garments would be hung to air out, allowing any lingering odors from the evening to dissipate. The jester, perhaps with the assistance of a servant, would inspect each piece for damage, looking for loose threads or missing bells. With a gentle hand, they would mend any imperfections, ensuring the costume remained in pristine condition for the next performance. Storage of the costumes was a careful process. They might be kept in a wooden chest, lined with soft fabric to protect the delicate materials from dust and wear. Each piece would be folded neatly, ensuring that colors did not bleed into one another. Special attention was given to the hat, as its form was crucial for the jester's appearance. It would often be placed on a padded stand, preserving its shape, allowing it to be ready for the next day's performance. Please. The schedule for a jester was often dictated by the court or the noble they served. Performances would typically take place during feasts, celebrations, or special events, with the jester arriving well ahead of time to prepare. This preparation included warming up their voice, practicing routines, and, of course, donning their carefully crafted costume. The specific timing of these performances was critical. A jester would be expected to perform at the height of the festivities, when laughter and joy filled the air. This required a keen sense of timing, as the jester would need to gauge the mood of the audience, adjusting their performance accordingly. The art of fitting in was not just about costume. It was about understanding the atmosphere, sensing when to be bold and when to be subtle. Throughout the performance, the jester would engage with the audience, drawing them in with their wit and charm. The colorful attire was a crucial part of this engagement. As the jester danced and moved, the bells would jingle softly, creating a pleasant accompaniment to their antics. The bright colors and joyful sound worked in harmony, establishing a connection that resonated deeply with the spectators. In this world, etiquette played a significant role. A jester was expected to know how to navigate the social intricacies of the court. They were not just entertainers, they were observers, able to discern the moods and preferences of those around them. This understanding influenced their performance, the jokes they told, and even the way they presented themselves. Let us pause for a moment to breathe deeply and reflect on the labor that went into crafting these costumes. The hours spent measuring, cutting, and sewing, the meticulous care taken in maintenance and storage. Each detail was a testament to the importance of the jester's role in society. As we drift further into this exploration, let us remember that the jester's costume was more than fabric and thread. It was a symbol of creativity, resilience, and the delicate balance of fitting in while standing out. The colors, the sounds, the movements, each element worked in unison to create an experience that brought joy, allowing the jester to fulfill their purpose. No. So take a moment to settle, relax, and let the soothing rhythm of this story enfold you, wrapping you in the gentle embrace of history, as we continue to delve deeper into the world of the medieval jester and their colorful yet regulated attire, slowly and gently. Why, as we continue our serene exploration into the world of medieval jester costume regulation, let us take a moment to focus on the tools and materials that were essential in the creation of these unique garments. Picture a humble workshop, perhaps lit by a flickering candle or the soft light of a window. In this space, a skilled tailor would begin their work, surrounded by an array of simple yet vital tools. One, there would be a sturdy wooden table, worn smooth by years of use, where the fabric could rest. The fabric itself varied, often made from wool or linen, materials that were both accessible and durable. A jester might choose bright hues of red, green, or yellow colors that were vibrant and eye-catching, yet sometimes regulated by local laws. The cost of such materials could range, with a yard of good wool priced at about 4 pence, while linen might be slightly cheaper, around 2 pence per yard. This, the tailor would take precise measurements, perhaps using a simple cloth measuring tape, to ensure that each garment fit comfortably. Measurements would be recorded in a ledger, noting the waist, chest, and even the length of sleeves. This careful attention to detail was crucial, as a well-fitted costume not only allowed for freedom of movement, but also enhanced the jester's performance. Each seam would be carefully sewn, perhaps with an iron needle, strong enough to pierce through multiple layers of fabric, creating a structure that could withstand the lively antics of its wearer. Yeah. As the jester costume took shape, embellishments would begin to appear. Small bells, hand-sewn into the fabric, would add a delightful jingling sound, creating a musical accompaniment to the jester's movements. These bells were sourced from local craftsmen, often sold in small bundles for a few pence. The process of sewing them on required patience and precision, with each bell spaced evenly, allowing for a harmonious sound as the jester moved. Hey, let us pause for a moment to envision these delicate details. Imagine a tailor seated at their table, fingers deftly working through the fabric, the rhythmic sound of a needle piercing cloth, and the gentle clink of bells as they are secured in place. What I Oh. Once the jester's attire was completed, meticulous care was required for maintenance and storage. Costumes would be folded carefully and stored in a cool, dry place, perhaps in a wooden chest lined with soft fabrics to prevent any damage. The storage of these garments was important, as the colors could fade if exposed to too much sunlight. A jester might use lavender or other herbs to keep pests at bay, gently placed among the folds of fabric, infusing the costume with a calming scent. The routine of maintaining a jester's costume was often a weekly task. Each week, the jester would carefully unfurl their attire, inspecting for any signs of wear. Small rips or loose threads would be mended with a simple needle and thread. This process, while mundane, was essential in preserving the costume's integrity. It was not unusual for a jester to spend a quiet afternoon tending to their attire, a meditative practice that connected them to their craft and the traditions of their role. Now, let us breathe deeply and imagine the sounds of this routine. The gentle rustle of fabric, the soft snap of thread being pulled through cloth, and the quiet satisfaction of a job well done. Jester costumes were often adorned with distinctive patterns and shapes, many of which followed specific regulations set forth by local lords or guilds. These regulations could dictate the number of colors used in a costume. In some regions, a jester was permitted only 3 colors, while in others, they might be allowed to use an array of hues. The colors chosen were not merely for aesthetic appeal. They were often symbolic, representing various moods or themes. As we reflect upon this, let us consider the etiquette surrounding the wearing of these costumes. A jester was expected to be mindful of their attire, ensuring it was appropriate for the occasion. For formal gatherings, a jester might don a more subdued version of their costume, perhaps with fewer embellishments, reserving the bright, extravagant attire for festivals or celebrations. Let us pause for a moment to visualize a jester preparing for an event. The careful selection of garments, the thoughtful arrangement of colors, and the gentle smoothing of fabric. Each decision made with purpose, each detail considered in the context of the audience they would encounter. The daily life of a jester was structured around performance schedules, often dictated by the seasons and the demands of the court. During festivals, their appearances would increase significantly, and the jester would need to prepare multiple costumes, each suited for different occasions. A jester might spend the weeks leading up to a festival sewing new sleeves, adding fresh bells, or even dyeing fabric to achieve the desired colors. This preparation involved a routine that was both communal and solitary. Jesters would gather to share techniques, exchange ideas, and sometimes even collaborate on new designs. The rhythm of their conversations, filled with laughter and creativity, would lead to the birth of new patterns and styles, which would then be replicated and adapted by others within the jester community. As we drift into this vision, consider the camaraderie shared among these performers, the gentle hum of conversation, and the soft sounds of sewing. Each stitch a connection, weaving together their shared experiences and aspirations. The jester's costume was not only a reflection of individuality, but also of the social dynamics of the time. The balance of fitting in while standing out was a delicate dance. A jester had to navigate the expectations of their audience while still being true to their craft. This balancing act was a skill honed over time, learned through observation and experience, often resulting in a deep understanding of human nature. Let us breathe slowly and feel the weight of this intricate dance. The jester, with every performance, celebrated the joys and nuances of life, all while adorned in the colorful yet regulated attire that defined their role. As we continue to explore the world of medieval jesters, let us remain mindful of the intricate details that shape their experiences. Each thread sewn, each bell attached, and each costume maintained was a testament to their artistry and resilience. Little by little, the jester's costume became an extension of their identity, a canvas of expression in a world filled with rules and expectations. So, let us relax and allow this soothing narrative to guide us deeper into the realm of history, where the mundane becomes extraordinary, and the simple act of dressing transforms into an art form, slowly and gently. Now, as we delve deeper into the world of medieval jester costume regulation, let us focus on the minute details that envelop these colorful figures in their daily engagements. Imagine a jester's wardrobe, carefully curated over time, yet bound by the constraints of societal expectations. The jester's outfit, often made from wool or linen, was crafted to provide comfort and flexibility. This choice of material was significant, as it allowed for ease of movement during performances, while also being durable enough to withstand the rigors of daily wear. The process of creating a jester's costume was a communal effort, often involving the jester, their family, and local tailors. The jester would select vibrant fabrics, perhaps a blend of reds, yellows, and greens. These colors were not merely ornamental. They served to evoke joy and laughter among the audience. The vibrant hues were often sourced from local dyers, who utilized natural materials to create their pigments. The price of such materials could vary, with richer colors commanding higher prices. A single yard of finely dyed fabric might cost several pence, while simpler, undyed wool could be acquired for a few farthings. Once the fabrics were procured, the jester would visit a skilled tailor. This tailor, familiar with the unique requirements of jester attire, would measure the jester carefully. The measurements were typically taken with a soft tape, wrapping around the waist, chest, and inseam. A well-fitted costume was essential for a jester, as it needed to allow for the unhindered display of acrobatics and antics. The tailor would mark the fabric, using chalk, often working in a well-lit workshop filled with other garments and remnants of fabric. Next came the cutting process. The tailor would cut the fabric into the appropriate shapes and sizes, ensuring ample room for movement. This would often take several hours, as each cut had to be precise, with the tailor consulting with the jester to ensure their satisfaction with the design. The pieces would then be sewn together, sometimes using bright and festive threads that matched the fabric, adding an extra layer of visual delight. This sewing process could take days, as the tailor would carefully construct each section, reinforcing seams to withstand the jester's energetic performances. As the costume began to take shape, attention would turn to embellishments. Jesters often adorned their attire with bells and other trinkets. These bells, typically made of brass or bronze, were meticulously chosen for their sound. A simple bell could cost a few pennies, while a beautifully crafted set of bells might require more than a week's earnings. The jester would select bells of various sizes, attaching them to the tips of their hat or the edges of their sleeves. The jingling sound added an auditory layer to their performance, enhancing the overall experience for the audience. Once the costume was fully assembled, it would be stored carefully. Jesters often had a designated trunk or chest for their attire, lined with soft fabric to prevent damage. This trunk would be placed in a cool and dry area to protect the garments from moisture and pests. The jester would take care to fold each piece neatly, ensuring that the vibrant colors remained intact and the bells were secured to prevent any jingling during storage. This careful maintenance was not only practical, but also a mark of respect for the craft that had gone into creating the costume. A jester's attire was not just for performance. It was a reflection of their status and artistry. The colors and designs could vary significantly from one jester to another, often serving as a form of identity. In some courts, regulations dictated that jesters wear specific colors or patterns, which could lead to disputes among performers. Such regulations, while seemingly mundane, added a layer of complexity to the jester's existence. In a bustling medieval town, jesters would often gather in the town square or at local festivals. The atmosphere would be filled with laughter, and the air would be punctuated by the sounds of bells and merriment. Each jester would display their individuality through their attire, yet they were bound by the invisible threads of regulation. Some might wear a traditional motley, a patchwork of various colors, while others opted for more subtle variations. The choice of attire could influence the type of performance they were expected to deliver. During these gatherings, jesters would engage in a series of routines, each performance carefully choreographed to emphasize their unique costumes. They would practice daily, sometimes rising before dawn to refine their acts. The jester's routine would often include stretching and warming up, allowing their bodies to become limber. The preparation for a performance was a ritual, and it involved not only rehearsing movements, but also donning the intricate costume piece by piece. Liao. The jester would first put on a snug pair of trousers, designed to allow for ease of movement. Next came the tunic, which was typically longer and featured a wide neckline. This tunic was often adorned with bright patches, and the jester would take care to ensure it sat comfortably. The final touch was the hat, which might be adorned with bells or pointed tips, completing the look. The act of dressing was a calming process, almost meditative in nature, as the jester prepared to step into the role expected of them. Oh, Mawanen, Amy, when to you? As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the town, the jester would take a moment to breathe deeply. They would close their eyes, feeling the weight of their attire, and mentally prepare for the performance ahead. The anticipation of laughter, the joy of connection with the audience, filled the air around them. In those moments, the jester understood the importance of their costume, a blend of artistry and regulation, allowing them to navigate the complex social fabric of the medieval world. Let us take a moment to appreciate this delicate balance between self-expression and adherence to tradition. Each costume, every bell, and every stitch told a story, representing not only the jester but also the community they serve. And so, as we drift deeper into this calming narrative, let us continue to reflect on the mundane yet profound journey of the medieval jester, where even the simplest threads wove a rich tapestry of history, slowly and gently. As the jester prepared for their performance, it is important to consider the many facets of their costume, each detail carefully selected and crafted with purpose. The process of assembling a jester's attire involved a series of meticulous steps, requiring both skill and patience. First, they would gather the necessary materials, often starting with a sturdy base fabric. Common choices included wool, linen, or cotton, each offering a unique texture and weight. Wool, for instance, provided warmth, while linen offered coolness, making it suitable for different seasons. Once the fabric was chosen, the jester would measure it to ensure a proper fit. Using a simple cloth measuring tape, they would take precise measurements around the torso, waist, and legs. An average jester's costume consisted of a tunic that reached mid-thigh, and it was vital that this tunic allowed for freedom of movement while performing various antics. The tunic typically measured about 1.5 yards in length, with sleeves extending to the wrists, often embellished with contrasting colors or patterns to enhance visual appeal. Next came the intricate task of cutting the fabric. The jester would lay the fabric on a smooth surface, ensuring there were no wrinkles or creases. Using a pair of sharp scissors, they would cut the fabric carefully, following the measured lines. Precision was key, as uneven cuts could lead to discomfort during performance. The scraps from this process were often saved, as they could be used later to create accessories or patches, an efficient practice that helped reduce waste. With the fabric cut and ready, the jester would begin to sew the pieces together. A basic needle and thread were all that was needed for this gentle task. They would thread the needle, tying a small knot at the end to secure their work. The stitches were made with care, often in a simple running stitch or backstitch, ensuring durability and a neat finish. Each stitch was a rhythmic motion, a soft dance between fabric and needle, binding the pieces together into a cohesive form. Color played an essential role in the jester's costume, with bright hues symbolizing joy and celebration. Shades of red, yellow, green, and blue were commonly used, often in alternating patterns. The jester would sometimes choose to dye the fabric themselves, a process that required additional steps. They would prepare a dye bath, made from natural sources like berries, roots, or flowers, and soak the fabric until the desired shade was achieved. This method not only allowed for vibrant colors, but also personalized the costume, making it a true reflection of the jester's character. Decorating the tunic with bells was another vital aspect of the costume. These bells, often made of brass or bronze, were sourced from local smiths or markets, sometimes costing a few pennies each. The jester would attach them along the hemline, ensuring they jingled softly with every movement. The pleasant sound added to the performance, creating an engaging atmosphere for the audience. As the jester worked, they would also prepare a cap, a distinctive element of their costume. The cap was typically conical and featured 2 or 3 pointed tips, which could flop over or stand upright, depending on the design. This cap was often made from the same fabric as the tunic, ensuring a cohesive look. The tips of the cap were adorned with small bells, mirroring those on the tunic. When completed, the cap would measure about 1 foot in height, a whimsical addition to the jester's ensemble. With the cap and tunic nearly complete, the jester would then focus on their footwear. Soft leather shoes, often pointed at the toes, were preferred for their comfort and flexibility. The shoes would be crafted using a simple pattern, requiring only a few pieces of leather and some sturdy thread. They would measure the length of their foot, ensuring a snug fit, and cut the leather accordingly. The stitching involved was similar to that of the tunic, adding to the calming nature of the entire process. As the sun continued to set, casting a warm glow, the jester would take a moment to step back and assess their work. The costume was not merely a collection of fabric and accessories. It was an embodiment of their role, a symbol of the joy and humor they were to bring to the community. Each detail mattered, from the way the colors complemented one another to the resonance of the bells. Before the performance, the jester would carefully store their costume in a designated area. This space, often a simple wooden chest or a well-organized corner of their home, was treated with respect. They would gently fold the tunic, tucking in the sleeves to prevent tangling, and place it atop a soft cloth. The cap was often the last to be stored, resting atop the tunic, its tips carefully laid flat to preserve their shape. As the jester prepared for the evening, they would take a moment to reflect on the etiquette of their role. Dressing for a performance was more than just adorning oneself with colorful fabric. It was also a ritual steeped in tradition. Jesters were expected to arrive early, allowing time to engage with the audience, to familiarize themselves with the atmosphere, and to set the tone for laughter and mirth. They would also review their routines, recalling the jokes, tricks, and dances they had practiced. This gentle rehearsal was essential, allowing the jester to feel confident and prepared. Each performance was a delicate balance of spontaneity and planned moments, with the costume serving as a silent partner in this dance of entertainment. And so, as the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, the jester would don their costume, one piece at a time. The tunic, the cap, and the shoes, each element transformed them into the character they were destined to portray. The bells would jingle softly as they moved, a reminder of the joy that awaited both them and their audience. In this world of regulations and traditions, the jester found their place, surrounded by the threads of history that wove together the fabric of their existence. Now, let us take a moment to breathe deeply, slowly, and gently, as we continue to explore this soothing narrative, reflecting on the quiet yet vibrant world of the medieval jester, and the art of fitting in or not. As the jesters settled into their routine, the first task of the day would be to gather their materials. They would begin with a simple checklist, a quiet inventory of the items needed for their costume. The fabric, often a blend of wool and linen, would be laid out across a soft table or a clean patch of ground. The colors were typically bright and bold, chosen not just for their vibrancy, but also for the way they would catch the light during performances. The tunic was often the centerpiece of the jester's ensemble. It would be cut to a length that reached the mid-thigh, and was fashioned to allow for ease of movement. A jester might prefer a tunic with long sleeves, perhaps extending to the wrists, embodying the spirit of playfulness with its flowing fabric. This garment would typically take several hours to tailor, requiring careful measurements. The jester would measure their chest, waist, and sleeve length, often using a simple piece of twine, marking each measurement with a gentle tug and release. Once the fabric was cut, the edges would be hemmed to prevent fraying, a meticulous process that involved a needle and thread, often in contrasting colors. The jester might spend a quiet afternoon stitching, the rhythmic motion of needle passing through fabric, creating a soothing backdrop to their thoughts. Next came the iconic jester's cap bar. This cap would be fashioned from the same vibrant fabric, often adorned with little bells that would jingle softly with each movement. The cap was typically shaped in a distinctive manner, featuring 2 or 3 elongated points that would stand upright, resembling a playful crown. The construction of the cap involved folding and stitching, often requiring the jester to take precise measurements of their head, ensuring a snug yet comfortable fit. The shoes were also a critical component of the jester's costume. They were usually crafted from soft leather or cloth, allowing for flexibility and ease of movement. The shoes would be designed with a slight upward curve at the toes, often referred to as poulain style. These whimsical shoes would be dyed in bright colors, sometimes decorated with additional bells or patterns that echoed the lively spirit of the jester. As the jester worked on their ensemble, they would often recall the traditions of their craft. Each element of the costume held significance. The colors chosen might reflect the moods of the season: bright yellows and greens for spring, deep reds and blues for winter. The jester often felt a connection to the past, a silent bond with those who had donned similar attire, who had danced and played before them. In the context of medieval society, the jester's costume was not merely a collection of colorful garments. It was a carefully regulated symbol of their role within the court. The regulations around jester attire could be quite specific. Some jesters were required to wear hats of a particular shape or fabric, while others were permitted to express themselves more freely. These regulations varied from one region to another, sometimes dictated by local customs or the preferences of the ruling lord. The jester would often keep a ledger, recording the various styles and colors that were acceptable within their court. This ledger, sometimes handmade, served as a reference to ensure compliance with the ever-changing expectations of their audience. The jester would note the dates and details, perhaps even sketching designs in the margins, always searching for that perfect balance between individuality and adherence to tradition. When it came time for a performance, the jester would prepare meticulously. Each performance adhered to a schedule, often dictated by the needs of the court. The jester would arrive early, ensuring that the stage was set, the audience was gathered, and the atmosphere was just right. They might take a moment to breathe deeply, settling into the space, allowing their nerves to dissipate. The jester would often take inventory of their props as well. Each performance required a set of tools, from juggling bowls to small instruments. These props would be stored in a simple trunk, often lined with soft fabric to protect their delicate surfaces. The trunk would be opened slowly, revealing the treasures within, each item holding a memory of laughter and joy. The jester would then check their costume one last time. They would stand before a mirror, adjusting the tunic and ensuring the cap was fitted just so. This quiet moment of reflection, of self-assessment, allowed the jester to mentally prepare for the performance ahead. They would practice a few steps, a gentle dance, feeling the fabric flow around them, reassuring themselves with familiar movements. In the days leading up to a performance, the jester might engage in gentle exercises, stretching their limbs, preparing their body for the agility required on stage. This routine was essential, allowing them to maintain flexibility. They would practice their routines in a quiet space, perhaps in a garden or a secluded room, feeling the sun on their face or the cool breeze against their skin. Alongside these preparations, there was the practice of etiquette. Jesters, despite their role as entertainers, were expected to adhere to certain social norms within the court. They would learn to navigate conversations with nobles, understanding the nuances of speech and the importance of timing. Their humor had to be sharp, yet gentle, always mindful of the delicate balance between jest and offense. The jester would often reflect on their role as the court's fool, an integral part of social life. Each jest, each laugh, was a thread woven into the rich tapestry of the community. They would understand that their costume was not merely an outfit, but a symbol of their position, a reminder of the responsibilities that came with their playful demeanor. Neone. As the day of performance drew near, the jester would finalize their costume, ensuring that each bell was securely fastened, each stitch was tight, and each color was vibrant. They would take a moment to breathe deeply, inhaling the scent of the fabric, feeling the texture beneath their fingers. In those final moments before stepping onto the stage, the jester would find solace in the quietness of their thoughts. Each element of the costume, each regulation and tradition was a reminder of their place in history, a history that was both colorful and in its own way dismal. Yet within that tapestry, the jester found joy, laughter, and a sense of belonging that resonated through the ages, softly guiding them into their performance and into the hearts of their audience. What? Why do you that high? Child. And so, the journey continued, little by little, piece by piece, as they prepared to bring joy to the world around them, wrapped in their vibrant attire, a gentle reminder of the delicate balance between tradition and expression. Wow. The jester's costume was not merely a collection of colorful fabrics. It was a carefully curated ensemble, defined by the standards and regulations set forth by the nobility they served. Each jester was acutely aware of the requirements that governed their attire. The colors, patterns, and embellishments were dictated by unwritten rules that spoke to both the status of the jester and the expectations of their audience. In preparing their costumes, jesters would gather materials from various sources. Fine wool, soft silk, and sturdy cotton were often sought after, each with its own unique qualities. Wool offered warmth and durability, while silk provided an air of elegance and movement. Cotton, being more readily available, was often used for the more practical elements of the costume. The colors chosen were of significant importance. Bright hues, reds, yellows, greens, and blues, were favored for their ability to catch the eye and evoke laughter. These dyes were not always easy to procure. A skilled dyer would mix natural ingredients, such as madder for red, indigo for blue, and turmeric for yellow, ensuring each batch remained consistent in shade. The jester would often spend hours selecting the right dye, testing swatches, and waiting for the colors to set, all while keeping in mind the specific guidelines of their noble patron. And fee. As the jester began to assemble their costume, they would carefully measure the fabric, ensuring that each piece was proportional to their form. The tunic, usually knee-length, required a length of fabric measuring about 2 yards, while the sleeves would need another yard for ample movement. The jester would cut the fabric with precision, using a sharp pair of shears, ensuring each edge was clean and even. Stitching the fabric together was a laborious task, demanding patience and skill. The jester would likely employ a simple running stitch or a backstitch, both of which provided durability. Hours would pass as they meticulously secured each seam, often working by candlelight as the evening shadows danced along the walls. The rhythmic motion of needle and thread was both calming and meditative, allowing the jester to reflect on their role in the upcoming performance. Once the main pieces were joined, the jester would turn their attention to embellishments. Embroidery was a favored form of decoration, with motifs of flowers, animals, or whimsical shapes sewn into the fabric. Tiny bells, usually made of brass or bronze, would be attached to the hem of the tunic. These bells, often acquired from local craftsmen, were not only decorative but served a practical purpose, providing sound to accompany the jester's movements. Each bell was carefully sewn, ensuring that it would jingle gently with every step, creating a soothing melody that punctuated the jester's performance. The final touches of the costume were crucial. The jester would often add a distinctive hat, known as a cap and bells. This hat, typically conical or tri-pointed, was made from the same vibrant fabrics as the costume. The jester would fill it with wool or straw for structure, ensuring it held its shape during their antics. Adorning this hat with additional bells would amplify the sound, connecting the jester's movements to the playful spirit of their role. Storage of the completed costume was equally important. Jesters were known to hang their costumes in a designated area, often draped over a wooden rack or carefully folded within a wooden chest. These locations were chosen to protect the delicate fabrics from dust and wear. The jester understood that proper care would prolong the life of their costume, thereby ensuring countless performances ahead. Why, before a show, jesters would have a ritualistic schedule, allowing them to prepare both mentally and physically. They might begin several hours before the performance, ensuring ample time for dressing and final adjustments. Each jester would take a moment to breathe deeply, inhaling the fresh scent of their carefully maintained costume. As they dressed, they would gently put on each layer, beginning with a simple undergarment, followed by the tunic and sleeves. The jester would then step into their brightly colored trousers, ensuring they fitted snugly around the waist, secured with a simple drawstring. After dressing, they would check the mirror, adjusting the angles of their hat and the placement of each bell until everything was just right. The etiquette surrounding costume wearing was also noteworthy. It was customary for jesters to greet their audience with a specific flourish upon entering the performance space, a gesture that was as much a part of the costume as the fabric itself. The jester would bow low, ensuring their hat tilted just so, allowing the bells to tinkle and draw attention. Each movement was deliberate, choreographed over years of practice, embodying the jester's role as both entertainer and commentator on society. Planning the performance involved meticulous detail as well. The jester would often review the schedule, noting the time allotted for each segment of their act. A typical performance could last anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the occasion. They would practice lines, physical gags, and musical interludes, ensuring that everything flowed smoothly, little by little. In preparation for an outdoor performance, The Jester would consider the weather, selecting materials that could withstand a light drizzle or a warm sun. They would take into account the proximity to the audience, adjusting the volume of their voice and the energy of their movements. This awareness of the audience was crucial for a successful performance, influencing their costume choices and the routines that would unfold. The Jester also understood the importance of post-performance care for their costume. After the final bow, they would take time to inspect their attire, checking for any loose threads or missing bells. It was common to spend a few quiet moments in reflection, taking pride in the work that had gone into each performance. They would gently fold the costume, placing it back into storage, ensuring that each piece was treated with respect, ready for the next occasion. Within this cycle of creation and performance, the Jester found a rhythm, a gentle lull that echoed through their life. Each step in the process, from the selection of materials to the final bows, was imbued with a sense of purpose and tradition. The regulations that defined their costume became a comfortable cocoon, a space where they could exist, play, and bring joy to others. And so, the Jester's journey continued, weaving through a tapestry of colors and sounds, wrapped in the embrace of their costume. Little by little, they filled each moment with laughter and light, a gentle reminder of the transformative power of tradition and expression. As they settled into each performance, they were not only a symbol of folly, but also a keeper of history, connecting the past to the present in a delicate dance of fabric and sound. Unmarred, the Jester's costume, a vibrant expression of identity, required careful attention and meticulous care. Each piece was crafted not only for the delight they would bring, but also for the tradition that enveloped them like a soft quilt. The fabric, often a blend of wool and linen, was selected for its durability and color. In the quieter hours, one could often hear the gentle rustle of fabric as the Jester laid out swatches, comparing hues of red, green, and gold. The colors held significance, each hue telling a story, each stitch imbued with purpose. Deep reds symbolized courage, vibrant greens represented joy, and golden yellows whispered of the sun's warmth. The Jester would often take a moment to admire these colors, running fingers across the fabric, feeling the weave, and contemplating how best to bring each character to life. Once the materials were chosen, the next step was the cutting of fabric. With a sharp pair of shears, the Jester would measure lengths, marking them with chalk, taking care to ensure that each piece was symmetrical. A typical Jester's tunic required about 2 yards of fabric, while sleeves needed careful measurement, often reaching as far as the elbow, or longer if one desired a more dramatic effect. The cutting process could take several hours, each snip of the shears echoing softly in the workshop. The Jester might pause, stepping back to admire the emerging shapes, and then continue, gently releasing the fabric from its original form. Next came the sewing, a task demanding patience and precision. The Jester would thread a needle, utilizing a sturdy cotton thread, often in contrasting colors to create a playful effect. The rhythmic motion of needle and thread, in and out, became a kind of meditation. Each stitch was deliberate, reinforcing seams and ensuring that the costume would endure the movements of performance. This process could take days, and during this time, the Jester often listened to the soft sounds of the world outside, the rustle of leaves, the distant laughter of children, or the gentle hum of bees. Each sound blended into a melody, a reminder of the life around them, while they focused on the delicate work of creating joy. Once the costume was complete, it was customary to store it with great care, Each piece was folded neatly, ensuring that colors did not fade and that fabrics remained unwrinkled. The costume was often placed in a wooden chest, lined with soft cloth to protect it from dust and moisture. Some jesters chose to add a few sprigs of dried lavender or rosemary, their calming scents a reminder of tranquility, enveloping the costume in a serene aroma. Etiquette dictated that costumes be treated with respect. When presenting a new piece to an audience, it was essential to showcase its details. The jester would often stand proudly, allowing the fabric to catch the light, displaying the intricate patterns and the playful bells attached to the hem. The sound of these bells, a soothing jingle, was a signature of the jester's presence, a gentle reminder of the laughter that would soon follow. In the days leading up to a performance, a regular schedule would emerge. Each morning began with a quiet hour of preparation, a time for stretching limbs and vocal warm-ups. The jester would practice their routines, moving slowly and gently through each sequence, ensuring that joy and grace flowed together seamlessly. As the sun rose, spilling golden light across the workshop, the jester would inspect their repertoire. Each piece of costume was laid out like a painter's palette, ready to be donned. The selection process was thoughtful, often influenced by the audience expected that day. For a gathering of children, bright colors and whimsical patterns were favored. For a more refined audience, deeper colors and elegant shapes were preferred. The jester's attire was more than a costume. It was a statement, a reflection of the mood of the audience and the atmosphere of the occasion. Each choice was made with care, each piece representing a part of the jester's identity. Once selected, the jester would dress, starting with the tunic. They would slide into it slowly, feeling the fabric embrace their form. The sensation of the fabric against the skin was comforting, a reminder of the hours spent creating this very piece. Then came the trousers, often loose-fitting, allowing for movement and play. Next, the jester would don the signature cap, adorned with bells that jingled softly with each movement. The cap was often made of a lightweight fabric, allowing for comfort during performances. The bells, though small, were carefully chosen to ensure that they produced the right sound, a delicate chime that danced through the air. Accessories were added next, small touches that completed the ensemble. A sash or belt might be tied around the waist, a colorful ribbon that drew the eye and added a pop of color to the overall design. The jester would often take a moment to admire their reflection in a polished surface, adjusting a bell here or a fold there, ensuring that each aspect of their costume was just right. The final touches included makeup, a gentle application of bright colors to the face, enhancing the features and inviting smiles. The jester would apply a bit of white around the eyes, with a splash of red on the cheeks, creating a whimsical visage that embodied the spirit of play. Once fully adorned, the jester would take a deep breath, feeling the weight of the costume settle comfortably upon them. This was a moment of calm before the storm of performance, a time to center oneself. As the performance approached, the jester would gather their tools, props that were often handmade and imbued with a sense of nostalgia. Wooden sticks painted bright colors, soft balls for juggling, and even simple cards for tricks were arranged with care. Each prop had its own place, and the jester would often take a moment to appreciate their journey, how they too were crafted, shaped, and beloved. The jester's costume and tools were not just materials. They were extensions of self, woven together by tradition, creativity, and the shared laughter of countless performances. Little by little, they created a world where joy could flourish, a world where the mundane became magical, And through this gentle transformation, the Jester continued their delicate dance through history, one performance at a time. E-I-E-O. As the Jester prepared for the day, they would first take stock of their tools and costumes. Each item had its own designated space, a little nook or cranny where it was lovingly stored. The Jester would reach for the large wooden trunk, its surface worn smooth from years of use. Inside, the fabric of the costumes lay folded and pressed, each color bright against the muted wood. There was a familiar scent, the aroma of aged cloth, mixed with a hint of paint, and perhaps a touch of old parchment. The Jester would carefully unfold the vibrant motley, a fabric made of many small patches sewn together. The patches varied in size, some as small as a handkerchief, others nearly a foot wide. Each patch was a different hue, a swath of red next to a splash of yellow, a dash of blue beside a piece of green. The Jester would run their hands over the textured fabric, feeling the uneven stitches that held it together. Little by little, each patch told a story, a history of laughter and joy. Next, the Jester would select their shoes, which were often made from soft leather or sturdy cloth. These shoes were not merely for show. They were crafted to be both functional and whimsical. They had pointed toes that curled slightly upwards, a delightful design that added to the overall charm of the ensemble. The Jester would slip their feet into the shoes, feeling the snug fit, and adjust the laces carefully, ensuring a comfortable hold. Once the costume was donned, the Jester would turn their attention to the props. Each prop required its own gentle care, as they were often handmade from simple materials. A wooden stick for juggling might be painted with bright colors, each stroke of the brush deliberate and precise. The Jester would run their fingers along the smooth surface, feeling the coolness of the wood and the warmth of the paint. The juggling balls, made of soft leather, would be nestled within a small cloth bag. The Jester would take them out one by one, feeling their weight in their hands. They were often filled with dried beans or sand, providing just the right balance for tossing and catching. The Jester would take a moment to appreciate the craftsmanship, noting the subtle imperfections that made each ball unique. The preparation routine was not hurried. It was a dance of its own, a rhythmic sequence that allowed the Jester to center their thoughts. When the costume was fully assembled, the Jester would stand in front of a small mirror, adjusting their hat, an exaggerated cap with floppy points, each adorned with tiny bells that jingled softly. They would listen to the sound, a gentle reminder of the joy they were about to share. In a world governed by etiquette, the Jester was both a performer and an observer. They would often consult with their fellow Jesters, sharing tips on costume maintenance and prop care. This camaraderie built a sense of community, where knowledge flowed freely. Each Jester had their own unique flair, but they all respected the underlying principles of their craft. To maintain the costumes, a simple routine was established. After each performance, the Jester would carefully inspect their attire. They would check for loose threads, stains, or any signs of wear. If a patch was frayed, it would be noted for repair later. The Jester would spend quiet moments sewing under the flickering light of a candle, using a needle and thread that matched the colors of the fabric. Little by little, the costume would be restored to its former glory. The Jester would also take time to clean their props. Juggling balls would be wiped down with a damp cloth, ensuring they remained soft and supple. The wooden sticks would be polished to maintain their luster, with a thin coat of oil applied to keep the wood nourished. This meticulous care was essential, as these tools were not just objects, but extensions of the Jester themselves. In preparation for the day's performances, The Jester would also collaborate with the local community. Often, they would meet at a designated square, a gathering place that served as both a stage and a marketplace. Here, the Jester would mingle with other performers, exchanging stories and advice. This was a time for connection and camaraderie, where laughter blended with the gentle hum of conversation. Nya, ansiwo, himtei, hin. As the sun began to rise higher in the sky, the Jester would take note of the time. They had a schedule to adhere to, as performances were often timed to coincide with the busiest hours. Little by little, they would prepare to step into the spotlight, allowing their heart to settle into a steady rhythm. The performances were not only entertaining, but also served as a form of communication with the audience. The Jester would observe the reactions of those gathered, noting the smiles and laughter that would ripple through the crowd. This feedback guided the Jester, shaping their routine and encouraging them to adapt. Each performance was a shared experience, a moment where time seemed to pause and joy took center stage. Throughout the day, the Jester would weave in and out of various routines. They would juggle, dance, and perhaps tell stories, all while keeping an eye on their attire and props. The Jester understood that maintaining a polished appearance was just as crucial as the performance itself. They would often adjust their hat, smooth the fabric of their costume, and ensure that every detail was just right. As the day drew to a close, the Jester would return to their trunk, placing each prop back in its designated spot. The juggling balls would nestle beside the wooden sticks, and the costume would be carefully folded once more. This reflective routine allowed the Jester to unwind, to savor the memories of the day. And so, the cycle continued. Day after day, performance after performance. The Jester's world was filled with color and laughter, yet it was also a tapestry woven from the threads of rules and etiquette. Each part of the routine, each detail of the costume, and every well-loved prop contributed to a larger story. A story that celebrated the art of fitting in, and at times, standing out. And foul. Little by little, the Jester's life unfolded like a delicate flower, each petal a moment of joy, laughter, and gentle preparation. The costumes, the props, and the rituals served as a comforting reminder of the balance between the whimsical and the mundane. The Jester would breathe deeply, feeling a sense of calm wash over them, ready to embrace the next performance, the next chapter in their colorful journey. And so, with each stitch and every careful choice, the Jester continued to dance through history. As the sun dipped low in the sky, casting a gentle glow upon the village, the Jester would prepare for the evening's performance. The first step in this methodical routine was to gather the tools of the trade. Every evening, the Jester would select a set of juggling balls, each round, colorful sphere glistening softly in the fading light. These balls, made of leather and filled with grains, would rest in the hands like small treasures, waiting to be brought to life. Each ball measured approximately 3 inches in diameter, just enough to fit snugly in the palm, yet large enough to be seen from a distance. Next came the selection of the costume. This process was never rushed. The Jester would take a moment to examine the fabrics laid out before them. The bright colors of red, yellow, and green were arranged neatly, each piece representing a different aspect of their character. The Jester preferred using wool for the outer layer, a sturdy fabric that held its shape well, and cotton for the lining, offering comfort against the skin. These materials were often purchased from the local merchant, a kindly woman who understood the Jester's needs. She would carefully weigh the fabric on her scales, noting its price, which ranged from 2 pence for a yard of cotton to 5 pence for the more luxurious wool. Once the materials were selected, the jester would begin the process of crafting. This part of the routine was both soothing and essential. The jester would lay the fabric upon a large wooden table, the surface smooth and cool. Using a sharp pair of scissors, they would cut the fabric into precise shapes. Each piece was measured meticulously, with standard lengths for sleeves and tunics, typically around 24 inches for the sleeves and 32 inches for the tunic's length. This attention to detail ensured that each costume fit comfortably, allowing for the freedom of movement essential during performances. Once cut, the next step involved sewing the pieces together. The jester would use a sturdy needle and strong thread, often dyed to match the colors of the fabric. The rhythmic motion of pushing the needle through the cloth and pulling it back out was calming. Each stitch took time, but the jester reveled in this process. It was a moment of quiet creativity, a moment to breathe deeply and settle into the task at hand. The jester would work slowly, carefully, sometimes taking breaks to admire the progress made. With each stitch, the costume began to take shape, becoming more than just fabric, but a vehicle for expression. The embellishments were particularly important. The jester would rummage through a small wooden box filled with buttons, bells, and ribbons. Each item was stored with care, organized by size and color. The jester favored small brass bells, which would jingle softly with each movement. The sound was delightful, adding an auditory layer to the performance. The jester would attach these bells at the hem of the tunic and the tips of the sleeves, ensuring they would catch the light and the audience's attention during the show. After the costume was complete, the jester would spend time rehearsing in front of a large mirror, reflecting back the vibrant colors and patterns of the attire. The mirror stood against the wall, framed in ornate wood, its surface polished to a shine. The act of rehearsing involved not just the physical movements, but also the expressions that accompanied them. The jester practiced smiling, frowning, and even laughing, all while adjusting their costume to see how it moved. This was a vital aspect of preparation, as the jester sought to embody the character fully. The schedule of performances was as regular as the setting sun. The jester would perform at least 3 times a week, often in the town square. Each performance would begin just as the final rays of sun illuminated the cobblestones, creating a warm glow that beckoned the villagers. The jester would arrive early, carrying the carefully folded costume and props, ready to set up. The arrival time was typically an hour before the performance began, allowing ample opportunity for everything to be just right. No, I see me. The jester would arrive at the designated spot in the square, a place marked by a small wooden signpost adorned with colorful paintings of jesters and fools. This signpost served as a familiar beacon, a place where laughter was welcomed and joy was shared. The jester would lay out a small blanket upon the ground, creating a cozy space for the performance. The blanket was woven from soft wool, a cherished gift from a fellow performer. It provided comfort for both the jester and the audience, inviting them to gather close. Little by little, as the villagers approached, the jester would begin to unpack the props. Each item was handled with care, a collection of memories and moments shared with the audience. The juggling balls would be placed in a neat line, while the wooden sticks would stand tall at the edge of the blanket. The props were not just tools, they were companions, each holding a story within its structure. Once everything was set up, the jester would take a moment to breathe deeply. This was a ritual of its own, a time to center oneself before the performance. The jester would close their eyes, feeling the warm breeze against their face, allowing the sounds of the village to wash over them. The distant laughter of children, the soft chatter of adults, and the rustling of leaves created a symphony of life that was both calming and invigorating. Hi. So, as the audience gathered, the jester would stand, adorned in their colorful costume, ready to embrace the performance. The rules of engagement were clear and well understood. The jester would greet the audience with a bow, their vibrant costume catching the light as they moved. Each performance was a careful dance of interaction, where the jester would read the crowd, adjusting their routine based on the mood and energy present. The performances followed a predictable rhythm, a series of jests, tricks, and playful banter. The jester would manipulate the juggling balls, tossing them high into the air, weaving colorful patterns against the backdrop of the evening sky. The bells attached to their costume would jingle softly, adding a melodic element to the laughter that filled the square. After the performance concluded, the jester would gather their props and fold the costume carefully. This time spent in reflection was just as important as the performance itself, a moment to savor the shared joy and connection with the audience. The jester would breathe in deeply, feeling a sense of calm wash over them, the echoes of laughter still resonating in the air. And so, the cycle continued, day after day, performance after performance. Each stitch, each prop, and every moment spent preparing contributed to a rich tapestry of tradition. Little by little, the jester became not just a performer, but a keeper of stories, a bridge between the vibrant colors of life and the gentle hum of routine. In the quiet corners of the medieval marketplace, where the light streamed softly through the trees, the tasks of the day unfolded with a gentle purpose. The jester, an essential figure in the court and beyond, had a costume that demanded careful attention and meticulous care. Each piece of attire held significance, a blend of vibrant colors and textures that spoke to both the spirit of play and the adherence to unspoken guidelines. The jester's costume often began with a tunic, a garment crafted from wool or linen. The fabric was chosen for its ability to breathe, allowing the jester to perform through every season. A length of fabric, perhaps 4 yards long, was cut and tailored to fit comfortably. Each tunic was adorned with patches of bright colors, often stitched together with care, creating a mosaic of hues. The jester would focus on ensuring that each patch measured roughly 6 inches square, maintaining a balance between chaos and order. Once the tunic was prepared, the jester would often turn their attention to the hood, a curious piece that added both flair and functionality to the outfit. The hood was not merely decorative, it served to amplify the jester's expressions and movements. A simple pattern, perhaps an additional 2 yards of fabric, would be sewn into a conical shape, allowing it to sit snugly upon the head. The jester would take care to embellish the edges of the hood with small bells, each one placed approximately 4 inches apart, creating a rhythm of sound that accompanied their every movement. And Medicae. One must not overlook the trousers, which were equally important in the overall presentation. The trousers were often made from a sturdy fabric, capable of withstanding the rigors of performance. Measuring around 3 yards in length, the jester would cut and sew the material to ensure a comfortable fit. The trousers might have a wide cut, allowing for freedom of movement, and were often striped or checkered, providing a visual punch to the ensemble. As the jester donned their attire, a mirror would be set nearby, reflecting not just their appearance, but the essence of their role. The mirror, often a simple piece of polished glass, allowed the jester to adjust their costume, ensuring that each part sat just right. The jester would lightly tug at the sleeves, ensuring they fell just above the wrist, and check that the hem of the tunic brushed gently against the tops of the trousers. With each adjustment, the jester would take a moment to breathe, inhaling deeply as they settled into the character they would embody. Little by little, they would focus on the intricate patterns of their attire, each color chosen intentionally, each bell placed for maximum effect. The Jester's shoes were often made of soft leather, designed for both comfort and ease of movement. Measuring around 10 inches in length, the shoes would be crafted to fit snugly, allowing the Jester to leap and dance without fear of mishap. The Jester might spend a brief moment polishing their shoes, ensuring that they gleamed softly under the sunlight, reflecting the joy of the day. In the preparation of the Jester's costume, timing was crucial. On a typical performance day, the Jester might rise with the sun, allowing ample time to prepare. A gentle routine of 2 hours would be devoted to gathering materials, checking for wear and tear, and ensuring that every element of the costume was in place. Each step of this preparation was essential, forming a ritual that brought focus and clarity. Once dressed, the Jester would gather their props, the juggling bowls, the colorful scarves, and the wooden stick adorned with bells. Each prop was carefully selected and stored in a simple woven basket, often made from reeds or straw, measuring about 15 inches in diameter. The Jester would ensure that the basket was easily accessible, as the props were integral to the performance. Little by little, they would take each item out, checking for any signs of damage, and ensuring everything was in working order. The juggling balls were typically made of leather, stuffed with rags or dried beans to provide weight and balance. Each ball would measure around 6 inches in circumference, fitting comfortably in the Jester's hand. The Jester would practice their throws, feeling the smooth and well-worn leather against their fingers, building a rhythm that would translate into the performance. The scarves, often made of silk or cotton, would flutter delicately in the air when tossed. These scarves were sometimes dyed in vibrant colors, each measuring approximately 3 feet long and 1 foot wide. The Jester would carefully fold each scarf, ensuring that they remained wrinkle-free and ready to dazzle the audience with a flourish of color. During the performance, the Jester's movements were synchronized with the sounds of laughter and applause. Gestures were intentional, each movement designed to engage and entertain. The bells on the costume would ring softly, their gentle chimes merging with the joyous atmosphere. As the day drew to a close, the Jester would return to their quiet space, a small corner of the marketplace, or perhaps a modest room within the castle. Here, they would take a moment to reflect on the day's events. The costume would be carefully disassembled, each piece put away with care. The tunic would be hung to air, while the shoes were placed neatly beside it, ensuring that they were ready for the next performance. This ritual of care was essential, a moment of gratitude for the attire that had carried them through another day. The Jester would breathe deeply, feeling the weight of the day's laughter and joy settle gently in their heart. Little by little, the Jester would settle into their evening routine, perhaps sipping a warm herbal tea or resting for a moment before sleep. The gentle rhythm of preparation and reflection was a soothing balm against the day's excitement. Each note of laughter, each glance exchanged with the crowd, lingered in the air like a sweet melody, carrying them softly into the night. One. And so, as the moon rose high in the sky, the Jester would close their eyes, the weight of the costume and the day lifting gently from their shoulders. They understood that tomorrow would bring another opportunity, another chance to don the vibrant attire and share a moment of joy with the world. Little by little, they would drift into slumber, surrounded by the echoes of the day's laughter, wrapped in the colors of their existence. In this way, the Jester continued their journey, weaving together the fabric of life and performance, one gentle stitch at a time. When Release. As the jester awakens to the soft light of dawn, the first task at hand is the careful selection of their attire for the day. The jester's wardrobe is often a colorful array of fabrics gathered from various corners of the kingdom. Each piece carries its own history, its own story, waiting patiently to be worn once more. The jester moves slowly, deliberately, choosing a vibrant tunic of rich red fabric, its texture soft against the fingertips. This tunic, adorned with small jingling bells, is not merely for show. Each bell is carefully sewn with a delicate thread, ensuring it remains securely attached through the day's antics and performances. The jester knows that the bells serve a purpose, to accompany every movement with a cheerful sound, a gentle reminder of the joy they bring. As they pick up the tunic, they notice a small thread that has come loose. With a gentle touch, the jester retrieves a needle and a spool of matching red thread. The needle, slender and sharp, glimmers softly in the morning light. The jester threads the needle with practiced ease, a motion repeated countless times over the years. Little by little, they begin to weave the loose thread back into place, the rhythmic motion of stitching soothing and familiar. The jester takes care to make small, even stitches, ensuring the fabric remains intact. Each pull of the thread draws the fabric closer together, just as the day draws closer to the performance. Once repaired, the jester drapes the tunic over a wooden stool, allowing it to breathe. It will be paired with a pair of trousers, also vibrant, perhaps a deep green or bright yellow. The colors are chosen not only for their brightness, but for their ability to uplift spirits. Each color has significance, and the jester knows the importance of matching hues, ensuring harmony in their appearance. Next, the jester turns to a small chest, where the rest of their costume resides. Each piece is carefully stored, wrapped in soft cloth to protect it from dust. As they open the chest, they are greeted by the sight of a floppy hat, its points adorned with jingling bells that dance lightly with every sway. The hat is a symbol of their role, a traditional reminder of the jester's duty to elicit laughter and joy. The jester takes a moment to inspect the hat, running fingers along its seams. There's a small patch that needs attention, a gentle reminder that even the most colorful attire can require care. With a needle at hand, the jester stitches the patch, ensuring it remains part of the hat's whimsical charm. Once dressed, the jester stands before a mirror, assessing their appearance. The mirror reflects a kaleidoscope of colors, each hue blending softly into the next. The jester takes delight in the sight, a moment of quiet satisfaction. They adjust their collar, ensuring it sits just right, a subtle detail that holds great importance. With the attire complete, the jester begins the day's preparation. A warm breakfast awaits, nourishing and hearty, perhaps a simple porridge sweetened with honey and sprinkled with dried fruits. The jester knows the importance of a good meal, fueling their body for the laughter and energy required later. They take their time, savoring each bite, allowing the flavors to unfold little by little. After breakfast, the jester attends to their grooming. A small wooden comb sits on the table, its teeth smooth and gentle. The jester runs the comb through their hair, untangling any knots with care. Each stroke is deliberate, a calming ritual that brings focus and tranquility. The jester knows that every detail matters, from the bright colors of their costume to the neatness of their hair. As the sun rises higher, the jester prepares their props. A collection of colorful bowls, each one a different size, rests on a nearby shelf. These are not just toys, they are tools of the trade. The jester selects a few, testing their weight in hand, ensuring they are balanced and ready for performance. The jester knows the feel of each ball, the way they bounce and roll, their smooth surfaces reflecting the light. Hey. The jester also gathers a small wooden staff, painted in bright colors with intricate designs. This staff is a cherished item, a companion that has accompanied them through many performances. The jester polishes the staff with a soft cloth, bringing out the vibrancy of the colors. Each stroke of the cloth feels meditative, bringing a sense of calm and purpose to the morning routine. Once the props are prepared, the jester takes a moment to reflect on the day ahead. There may be a gathering at the castle, a chance to perform for kings and queens, or perhaps a simple market square filled with townsfolk eager for a moment of joy. The jester knows that their role is to bring laughter, to lighten spirits with a gentle touch. Before departing, the jester takes a moment to gather their thoughts. A small notebook lies on the table, filled with ideas for new routines, jokes, and tales. The jester flips through the pages, reading notes written in a careful hand. Each entry is a snapshot of inspiration, a reminder of the times when laughter flowed freely and joy filled the air. The jester pauses, allowing the mind to settle, preparing for the interactions to come. Little by little, they close the notebook, placing it carefully in a pouch at their side. With everything in place, the jester steps outside, ready to greet the world. Yay! One tower. The fresh air feels invigorating, and the sounds of the bustling market greet them like an old friend. The jester walks slowly, taking in the sights and sounds, allowing the colors of the day to fill their senses. As they navigate through the crowd, the jester feels the eyes upon them, the smiles and laughter igniting a spark of energy. Each interaction is a dance, a gentle back and forth, and the jester embraces the rhythm of the day, the care they took in their attire, the time spent preparing, all culminates in this moment, where laughter meets kindness and joy becomes a shared experience. And so, the jester embarks on another day, a tapestry woven with laughter and vibrant colors, each moment a step in the art of bringing happiness to others. Little by little, they settle into the rhythm of performance, surrounded by the warmth of connection and the thrill of bringing smiles to faces young and old. Nay. The jester takes a moment to observe the market, the colors of the banners fluttering in the gentle breeze. Each color holds significance, a reflection of the jester's role within the tapestry of the court. The bright reds and greens, the shimmering yellows and the deep blues, they all blend together in a symphony of hues. These colors are not merely for show. They are carefully chosen to reflect the mood of the day, the season, and the events unfolding within the realm. As the jester walks further into the throng, they recall the materials used in their costume. The bright fabric of their tunic is made from a finely woven wool, soft to the touch and durable enough to withstand a long day of performance. The fabric has been dyed using natural pigments from plants and minerals, each hue painstakingly created and layered to achieve the desired vibrancy. Little by little, the jester remembers the process, how they soaked the wool and mixed the dyes, ensuring the colors would not fade in the sunlight. The jester recalls the measurements taken for their costume. Each piece is tailored to fit comfortably, allowing freedom of movement. The sleeves are long and flowing, reaching just past the elbows, while the tunic falls to mid-thigh, perfect for a quick flourish or a spontaneous jig. The measurements were taken with precision, as the jester knows that a well-fitted costume enhances not only their appearance, but also their performance. The waist is cinched with a simple, yet effective cord made from braided leather, snug but not restrictive, allowing for easy movement. Each jester has a unique style, yet there are unspoken guidelines to follow. The colors and patterns must be engaging, but not overwhelming. The jester's attire should invite laughter and mirth, yet maintain an air of professionalism. There are colors that are favored, like the royal purple or the sunny yellow, which symbolize joy and festivity. However, one must also be mindful of the etiquette surrounding these choices. If a jester were to wear colors too close to those of the nobility, it could lead to misunderstandings or even disapproval. Thus, the jester carefully considers their options, balancing creativity with adherence to tradition. Way, win, then. With each step, the jester feels the weight of their bells, lightly jingling at the ends of their sleeves and cap. The bells are small, made of brass, precisely measuring half an inch in diameter. They are securely stitched, each one attached with care, ensuring they will remain in place throughout the day. The sound they produce is soft yet distinct, a subtle invitation to joy and laughter, harmonizing with the ambient sounds of the market. As the jester strolls past the stalls, they notice a vendor selling colorful fabrics. The jester pauses to examine the offerings, the array of textures and colors beckoning to them. The vendor, an elderly woman with a gentle smile, recalls the price of each fabric with a practiced ease. The jester listens, noting that a yard of this vivid crimson wool costs 3 pence, while a yard of the cheerful yellow linen is 2 pence. Oh, easy, one sigh. The jester contemplates the potential of each fabric, imagining how they might incorporate it into their costumes. Little by little, they consider the time it would take to create a new piece, measuring, cutting, sewing, and finally, embellishing. Each step requires patience, skill, and an understanding of the art of jester attire. The jester expresses their appreciation to the vendor and continues on their way, aware that inspiration can be found in the most mundane of experiences. As the jester moves through the crowd, they take note of the various tools they carry. In their pouch, they have a small needle, a spool of thread in a complementary color, and a pair of scissors. These tools are essential, allowing the jester to make minor adjustments throughout the day, ensuring that their costume remains at its best. The needle, crafted from the finest steel, slender and sharp, measures about 2 inches long. The thread is strong yet fine, allowing for delicate stitches that hold the fabric together without adding bulk. The scissors, small and neatly folded, are crafted from iron and measure just 4 inches in length. They are easy to handle, perfect for quick snips and alterations. The jester knows the importance of being prepared. Little by little, they remind themselves to check their equipment regularly, ensuring that everything is in good condition. A well-prepared jester is a happy jester, and the joy of performance is enhanced when one feels confident in their attire. As the day unfolds, the jester thinks about the schedule of performances. The first show is set for midday, and preparations will begin in earnest as the sun reaches its peak. The jester knows that they must arrive early to set the stage, ensuring that all props are in place and that any necessary rehearsals are completed. Little by little, the thought of routine settles in, a comforting structure that brings ease to the bustling day. Before each performance, the jester has a ritual. This ritual consists of a few calming moments, a deep breath, and a gentle stretch. They find a quiet corner, away from the crowd, and take in the moment. They close their eyes, envisioning the laughter and smiles that will come with their performance. They gently stretch their arms overhead, feeling the fabric of their costume move with them, a reminder of the joy they bring. The jester remembers the etiquette of performance. They know to greet the audience with a bow, a subtle acknowledgement of the shared space and experience. Each performance is an exchange, a moment where the jester gives of themselves, and in return, they receive the laughter and joy of those who gather. Little by little, they visualize the faces they will see, young and old, each one adding to the tapestry of their day. Ice. The jester continues their stroll through the market, the sun warming their back, the bells on their costume jingling softly with each step. They pause to admire the craftsmanship of a nearby stall, where wooden toys are displayed, each one lovingly carved and painted. The jester marvels at the details. A tiny horse, a painted cart, and the simple joys of childhood. And they think about how these small toys might inspire laughter and joy in the same way their attire does. Little by little, the jester understands that, much like their costume, each item has its place in the grand performance of life. With each moment, the jester becomes more attuned to the rhythm of the day, the gentle ebb and flow of interactions, the vibrant colors of the market, and the warmth of the sun. They breathe deeply once more, allowing the senses to settle, the mind to quiet, and the heart to open. As the jester prepares for the day ahead, they embrace the tranquility of the moment, cherishing the vibrant yet simple joys that come with their role. Each detail, from the fabric of their costume to the laughter of the crowd, weaves together to create a masterpiece of everyday life. Little by little, they ready themselves, a beacon of joy in a world that thrives on connection. And so, the jester steps forward once more, a colorful presence in the market, ready to engage, inspire, and entertain, their heart light and their spirit free. As the jester arrives at the market, they take a moment to observe the surroundings. The sun rises gently, casting a warm glow over the stalls and the people who bustle about. Each vendor prepares their wares, arranging fruits and vegetables in neat rows. The jester smiles softly, feeling the sense of order in the market's rhythm. They know that their own preparations are just as important, a necessary step in the day's performance. And so, first, the jester reaches for their costume, hanging neatly in a corner of their small room. The fabric is a patchwork of vibrant colors, reds, greens, and yellows, as well as some muted tones that balance the overall appearance. Each piece is carefully stitched, with attention to detail, ensuring that the costume not only dazzles, but also allows for comfortable movement. Slowly, they examine each section of the outfit, the soft fabric gliding through their fingers. They check the collar, which is adorned with small bells. These bells, when jingled, bring a delightful sound to their performance, enhancing the joy they wish to share. They take a moment to ensure that each bell is securely fastened, as the sound is essential to their act. The jester knows that the bells must be neither too loud nor too soft, finding just the right balance to suit the mood of the audience. Next, they focus on the shoes, which are pointed and curled at the toes, crafted from supple leather. These shoes are designed for both style and comfort, allowing the jester to dance and move with ease. They take a moment to inspect the soles, ensuring they are clean and free of debris, as well-trodden paths can lead to slips and stumbles. With the costume donned, the jester begins the process of makeup application. The jester chooses a white base to create a smooth canvas, carefully applying it with a soft brush. They work methodically, ensuring even coverage. Next, They add red circles to their cheeks, a traditional mark that symbolizes joy and playfulness. Each color is applied with precision, allowing time between each step for the makeup to set and ensuring the jester looks their best. Uh, why? As they finish applying the makeup, they glance at the mirror, noticing the transformation. The person looking back is an embodiment of cheer and whimsy. The jester takes a moment to breathe, feeling the excitement of the day ahead, yet remaining calm and centered. Once they are fully prepared, the jester gathers their props for the day. They select a few essential tools, perhaps a small juggling set, crafted from lightweight materials, designed for ease of use. Each item is examined carefully, ensuring they are in good condition. The juggling balls are brightly colored, with a smooth surface that glimmers in the sunlight, inviting the audience to engage. In addition, the jester brings along a simple wooden puppet, painted in cheerful colors. The puppet is an extension of the jester's personality, and its movements can spark laughter and smiles. They check the strings, ensuring they are not tangled, as a smooth performance is crucial. Little by little, they pack these items into a small, weathered pouch, well-loved yet sturdy. The jester knows that each item holds significance, connecting them to the audience in a unique way. They take a moment to appreciate the craftsmanship before moving on to the next task. With all preparations complete, the jester steps out into the bustling market. The air is filled with the scent of fresh bread and spices, mingling with the sounds of haggling voices and the laughter of children. The jester moves slowly through the crowd, taking in the sights and sounds. Yea, they pass by a vendor selling bright ribbons, the colors shimmering in the sunlight. The jester pauses, feeling the fabric between their fingers, appreciating the texture and the colors. They consider purchasing a few to incorporate into their costumes. The ribbons would add a whimsical touch, fluttering in the breeze as they dance. The jester glances at the price tag. Each ribbon costs a small coin, a fair exchange for the joy they can bring. They think about how the addition of these ribbons could enhance their performance, adding an extra layer of delight to the visual spectacle. Little by little, they tuck this idea away for later consideration, knowing that every detail matters in the art of performance. As they continue through the market, the sun climbs higher in the sky, and the jester can feel the warmth on their skin. They find a shaded spot beneath a large oak tree, taking a moment to rest. The tree provides a comforting presence, its leaves rustling gently in the breeze. The jester closes their eyes momentarily, listening to the sounds around them. The laughter, the chatter, the distant clinking of coins. They breathe deeply, letting the sounds wash over them, feeling a sense of calm settle in. The jester reflects on the importance of these moments of stillness, allowing themselves to recharge before the performance begins. Eventually, the jester gathers their thoughts and prepares to return to the heart of the market. They know that soon, the audience will gather, eager for laughter and entertainment. They remind themselves of the steps they must take, how to engage with the crowd, how to respond to their energy. The jester thinks about the importance of timing, how each jest and jibe must be carefully calculated. They remember the rhythm of their performance, the beats that keep the audience engaged. With each act, they must weave together humor and grace, creating a seamless flow that captivates the hearts of those who gather. Why? Little by little, they visualize the routine in their mind. The order of events, the timing of each gesture. They know that practice is key, and every performance is an opportunity to improve. As they rise from their resting place, the Jester feels a renewed sense of purpose. They take one last moment to appreciate the surroundings, the vibrant market alive with energy. They adjust their costume and check their props once more, ensuring they are ready for the joy of connection that lies ahead. And so, the Jester steps forward, once more embracing the colorful life of performance. With each step, they bring forth laughter and light, sharing their heart with the world around them. The day unfolds gently, each moment a thread in the fabric of their journey, a journey filled with the simple joys of existence. Now, as the Jester moves through the market, they carry with them the weight of their costume. Each piece has been meticulously chosen, crafted with care, and selected for its vibrant colors and textures. The Jester knows that every detail matters, from the pointed hat adorned with jingling bells to the soft fabric of their tunic, often made from wool or linen. The colors are bright: reds, greens, yellows, and blues, all carefully chosen to evoke a sense of joy and whimsy. The Jester recalls the process of acquiring these materials. They often visit local merchants who specialize in vibrant fabrics. The Jester remembers the smell of the dye, sometimes a fragrant mix of natural plants and minerals. They can still hear the gentle chatter of the merchants as they discuss the qualities of each fabric, the costs, and the intricate patterns that may adorn them. The Jester might spend a few hours browsing, feeling the textures against their fingers, imagining how each piece would move when they dance and perform. And then, slowly, they would make their selections, carefully calculating the cost. A yard of bright fabric might cost 3 pennies, while a yard of more intricate brocade could be as much as 6 pennies. The Jester knows that budgeting is essential. They keep a small pouch, filled with coins, tucked away in their belt. Each coin jingles softly as they move, a gentle reminder of the value of their craft. Once the materials are acquired, the Jester must consider the construction of their costume. They find a quiet space, perhaps a small corner of their home, where they can lay out their chosen fabrics and tools. A simple wooden table serves as their workspace. They gather their supplies: needles, thread, scissors, and perhaps some decorative bells or ribbons. Each tool has its own place: a small wooden box for the needles, a round tin for the buttons, and a woven basket for scraps of fabric. Moye. As they begin to sew, the Jester takes their time. Each stitch is deliberate, measuring about half an inch apart, ensuring that the seams are strong. The Jester knows that a well-stitched costume can withstand the rigors of performance. They think about the hours spent creating each piece, the way the fabric flows, and how it can catch the light, reflecting the joy they bring to their audience. Little by little, the Jester assembles their ensemble. They think about the layers, the tunic, the tights, the shoes. Each piece must fit comfortably, allowing for movement and flexibility. The Jester often chooses soft leather for the shoes, ensuring that they can dance without fear of blisters. They lace them tightly, but not too tightly, allowing their feet to breathe. And then there is the hat. The Jester's hat is a masterpiece in itself. It is crafted from the same vibrant fabric as the tunic, and it stands tall and proud, with 3 pointed tips that flop gently with movement. The Jester recalls the time spent embellishing it with jingling bells, each bell a different size, creating a soft, melodic ringing as they perform. The sound is a signal to the audience, drawing them in, inviting them to laugh and smile. The Jester takes a moment to appreciate the hat, holding it gently in their hands, feeling the weight of the bells and the softness of the fabric. They place it on their head, adjusting it carefully, ensuring that it sits just right. They check the mirror, taking in the entire ensemble for the first time. It feels good. They feel ready. As they prepare for the day, the jester considers their schedule. A performance might be planned for midday, when the sun is high and the market is bustling. They often arrive early, allowing time to set up their space, ensuring that they have room to move. They choose a corner near a popular stall, where the aroma of baked goods wafts through the air, drawing people in. The jester knows that timing is critical. They often check the position of the sun, using it as a guide for the best time to begin. Little by little, they gather their props: colorful balls, a small puppet, perhaps a musical instrument. Each prop is stored in a simple wooden chest, marked with their initials. The jester recalls the routine of unpacking and laying out their props, arranging them in a way that feels inviting and organized. And then, as the time approaches, the jester takes a deep breath. Inaya. They think about the audience, how they will gather, how they will respond. The jester knows the importance of connection. Each performance is an opportunity to share joy, to bring laughter into the lives of others. They remind themselves to remain centered and calm. Breathe in and breathe out. They whisper softly to themselves. The jester considers the etiquette of performing in public. It is not enough to simply entertain. They must also respect the space and the people around them. They remember the unwritten rules, being polite to the merchants, thanking them for their space, and being considerate of the audience's reactions. As they step onto their chosen spot, the jester pauses for a moment. They take in the scene around them, the faces of children and adults alike, the way they cluster together, drawn by curiosity. The jester knows that they must engage them gently, little by little, inviting them into their work. They say, wow. The jester's heart beats steadily, each pulse a reminder of the joy they bring. They begin their performance with a simple gesture, a wave of their hand, a bow of their head. The bells on their hat jingle softly, creating a melody that dances in the air. The audience responds, their eyes brightening, smiles appearing as they lean closer. Little by little, the jester weaves their performance, taking care to include the audience. They might toss a colorful ball into the crowd, encouraging laughter, or dance with a puppet, drawing giggles. Each moment is carefully crafted, creating a rhythm that flows gently, like a lullaby that soothes the spirit. Wow. Nihan. Elmun. Andis. Inazer. And so, as the performance unfolds, the jester feels a sense of calm wash over them. They allow the laughter and joy to wash over them like a gentle wave. Each chuckle, each smile, adds to the tapestry of their work, each thread woven with love. As the performance continues, the jester is reminded of the importance of these small moments, the beauty found in the mundane, the colors of their costume, the sound of the bells, the laughter of the audience, all blend together into a harmonious whole, a reminder that joy can be found in simplicity. With each passing moment, the jester grows more comfortable, more relaxed. They know that they are part of something larger, a tradition that spans generations, a tradition that brings people together, weaving together the threads of community and connection. And so, they carry on, little by little, step by step, creating a world of wonder through the art of performance, the art of being a jester. Each day is a new opportunity, a new adventure, a chance to share joy, And as they perform, they feel the gentle push of time, the rhythm that guides them through their craft. In this soothing exploration, we have journeyed through the subtle intricacies of medieval jester costume regulation, delving into the muted hues and prescribed patterns that adorn these whimsical figures. We observed how, little by little, the colors and fabrics were not merely a reflection of jest, but also a representation of societal expectations and norms. The gentle restrictions and guidelines that shaped their attire allowed us to understand the delicate balance between individuality and conformity within the courts of the time. As we close this chapter, imagine a quiet room, softly illuminated by the warm glow of candlelight, where your body rests, your shoulders relax, and the world outside fades away, allowing you to drift peacefully into sleep. If you found comfort in this exploration, kindly consider liking, subscribing, and sharing your thoughts in the comments. And remember to turn on loop so this gentle journey can continue to cradle you softly through the night.